Chapter 2. Choosing your containers. One of the thrills of container gardening is choosing the right kind of container for your plants. You have absolute freedom in injecting your creativity and personality in the containers you use. You can literally choose just about anything. You just have to make sure that whatever you choose can hold soil and has a drainage system. Choosing the right kind of container is one of the most essential steps in growing a successful container garden. The right kind of container will ensure that your plant will receive sufficient nutrients. In addition to this, it will also add personality to your garden. Choosing the right kind of container will allow you to be creative and artistic with your container garden. However, keep in mind that you need to match the shape of your pots to the kind of plants you want to grow. Specific plants have specific needs, and you have to take that into account as you choose your containers. The possibilities are endless when it comes to choosing the right kind of container for your garden. Anything made from clay, metal, wood, or plastic are suitable. For cheaper options, you can go for barrels, cut-off milk jugs, window boxes, baskets lined with plastic, pieces of drainage pipe or cement block, or even your favorite boot that is no longer in use. You can choose similar kinds of containers so that your garden will have a theme and they will all look great together. You don't need to buy your containers. You can look around your house for something that you can use. You may also construct your own containers if you think you have the skill. Choosing or making containers is one of the most creative elements of this hobby. However, choosing containers is not all about aesthetic. You need to take into account the things that your plants need. You have to keep in mind that, generally speaking, it is more stressful for plants to be in containers than to be on the ground. So, you have to pay attention to the kind of containers you choose to ensure that your plants will get the nutrients and care they need. Here are some tips that can help you in choosing the containers. Why is it more stressful for plants to be in containers? Containers are not the natural habitat of plants. Therefore, it is understandable why plants in containers have different needs from plants planted directly on the ground. However, do not be discouraged. In spite of the differences, there are still certain plants that live well in containers. You just have to be mindful of the different needs and demands of container gardening. No matter what container you use, they need more water than plants on the ground because containers dry out more easily. You have to be attentive and consistent in providing them with water. Smaller pots require more watering. You have to exceed the general gardening rule of 1 inch of water a week. Make sure to know the needs of your plants when it comes to watering. You don't want to drown the roots of your pots either. Potted plants are also more sensitive to changes in the temperature, so you have to take that in mind. You might need to make several adjustments in caring for your plant as the temperature of the environment changes. Also, plan out the spacing of your potted plants to ensure they won't compete for nutrients. Crowding plants together can stress them out. It is also important to fertilize your potted plants because they do not receive regular nutrients from the earth. There is no right container for a garden, but there is a right container for every species of plant. What are the things that you should consider when choosing containers for your garden? Here are some tips. Your containers should be big enough to support your plants when they are fully grown. You have to determine the size of your plants when you buy your containers. Most plants need 6 to 8 inches of space for adequate rooting. Keep in mind that these plants will grow. So, you have to make sure that the pots you choose are suitable for the plants you want. If you are going to make your containers yourself, make sure that you choose the right size and material for the pots. There are some experts who recommend that, generally speaking, plants survive better in big pots. Big pots also need less frequent watering because the soil is able to hold in more water. For beginners, big pots are ideal because it allows for a bigger margin of error in fertilizing and watering. Try to plan what plants you are actually going to grow. This will allow you to take into account the needs of the plants as you choose your pots. You will be able to choose pots that are more appropriate if you already know what plants you want. Your containers should be able to hold soil without spilling. Your pots should be able to hold soil efficiently, but at the same time it should have holes for the drainage of water. It is important that it can hold soil effectively because the soil holds the nutrients and water for the plants. Something that doesn't hold in soil well could be potentially damaging for your plants. It is possible that your plants might not get proper nutrients if soil is spilling out of your pots. In addition to this, soil spillage is messy, especially if you want your plants in an indoor area. Your container should have an efficient drainage system. It is important to emphasize that good drainage is necessary for plants, especially at the early stages of their growth. If your pot does not have enough drainage, your soil might get too wet, and this problem might actually cause your plant to die. This is because too much water causes the root to rot. In effect, the plant is not able to get the nutrients it needs when there is too much water. Unless you are a really attentive gardener who knows the needs of your plants perfectly, you need pots to help keep the drainage of your container garden efficient. Too much water will drown the roots of your plants. Therefore, it is important for you to ensure that your pots have an efficient drainage system. This will allow the roots to absorb water and at the same time get rid of whatever is in excess. It is useful to add gravel, stones, or pot shards to increase drainage below the soil, and if you're going to buy pots, make sure that they have enough holes. You can add holes simply by drilling or punching them at the bottom of your container, or you can make your life a whole lot easier by making your own containers with sufficient holes. Avoid using pots with products that might be harmful or toxic to animals or people. It is nice to stay natural when choosing your materials for container gardening. Toxic chemicals are harmful for you in the long run. This is especially true if you want to plant vegetables or herbs in your pots. It is better to choose safe materials that will not endanger you or your family. If you can, check the materials used to manufacture your container. Make sure that all chemicals included are safe and non-toxic. Avoid wood treated with creosote or pentachlorophenol, penta, wood preservatives, because these are harmful for plants and they are potentially harmful for people as well. Be mindful of the location of your garden. The location of your garden affects how you choose your pot. The kind of container you use should be appropriate for the kind of environment that your plant is in. Choose the container color accordingly. You can paint containers to create a cooler surface. This will more easily reflect heat. When you are going to put your pots in full sun, avoid dark colors, especially black. Also, keep in mind that terracotta pots wick away water from plants. You might have to adjust your watering schedule if you want to use terracotta pots. Lastly, you should pay attention to the detail and design of pots in high visibility areas. Naturally, you'd want your pots to be beautiful and attractive if there are a lot of people who will see them. Consider mobility. There might come a time when you'd want to move your plant to a different location. Have the foresight to plan ahead. This means that you should try to make your pots as mobile as possible. Choose containers made from lighter materials that can be carried around. You must also try to control the weight factor of your plants if you plan to move them. You may opt for the new fiberglass or styrofoam planters. They are not only lightweight, they are decorative as well. Use window boxes. Plants in boxes will add a quaint charm to any space. If you want a rustic look for your home, container gardening in your window boxes is perfect for you. If you know how to work around the house, you can even construct your own window box pot. You can ask for help from most gardening or hardware stores. Some even offer classes on how to make them. Make sure to measure the width and length of your windowsill before looking around for options. Different kinds of windowsills are made from different kinds of materials. You can choose from wood, plastic, including recycled, terracotta, fiberglass, and many more. You should avoid using metal because they tend to retain too much heat in direct sun. Make sure that your window box is efficiently attached to your sill to avoid damage. Also, check if you have an efficient draining system so that you won't drown the roots of the plants. You can use whimsical pots if you wish. The pots you choose will reflect your personality and bring style to your garden. You don't have to be conventional when choosing your pots. You can be whimsical and adventurous if you wish. Think of odd objects you can use. The more unusual the items you choose, the more interesting your garden will be. You can use an old boot, a busted watering can, a used tire, a piece of worn furniture, a broken oven. Anything you have lying around can be used as pots. Have fun with your pots. This is where your creativity and artistry will come in.